What can we expect to happen in the world in the next 12 months? In order for me to answer this question, let me give some background so that you will understand the rest of the story. The year was 1984. I was in my house in Kasilof, Alaska, where I was living at the time. The phone rang. On the other end of the phone was an oil company official. He said to me, he said, "Chaplain, how you doing?" I said, "Fine." I said, "I haven't talked to you for a while." He said, "By the way, are you going to be doing any speaking engagements in the next few weeks?" I said, "Yes. I begin in Seattle, Washington on next week and wind up in Southern California about 2 months later." He said, "Well, would you like everybody in your audiences to think that you're a prophet?" Well, I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Tell them that the price of crude oil is going from $32 a barrel to $10 a barrel." Well, it was $32 a barrel at that time. And I said, "That can't happen. It would literally devastate the Arab world." He said, "Chaplain, it's going to." Well, I did. I knew this man. I knew he knew what he was talking about. Because after all, it's all planned. So I said, "Okay," and I did. Beginning the next week in Seattle, Washington, I said the price of crude oil is going from $32 a barrel to $10 a barrel. My audiences literally burst out in laughing. They knew it couldn't happen. But it did. They didn't quite make it to 10. It only went to 11. And when it happened, my phone almost rang off the hook. People said, "You're a prophet." I said, "No, I'm not. I just know the people who are doing it." And it happened exactly like he said it was going to. You see, all planned in advance. Give you another illustration. I was watching Good Morning America recently. I very seldom watch the morning news, but I remember I was watching it that morning, and who do you think was being interviewed on Good Morning America? None other than George Bush Sr., Daddy Bush. And they asked him a number of questions, finally came around toward the end of the broadcast, and she said, "Mr. Bush, I'd like to ask you one final question." She said, "Do you ever watch the morning news?" He just smiled and he said, "No." You can imagine the lady's response when he said that, and she was kind of taken back for a moment or two, rather stunned, and finally she said, "Well, why not?" His response was amazing. He said, "Because I already know what it's going to be." And he's exactly right. Because you see, he's one of the elitists. This is not a conspiracy. This is an agenda. You must understand something. These people know exactly what they're doing. They're not making any mistakes. It's all been planned a long time in advance. Everything in the world happens by a design plan. None of it happens by chance. It's all planned ahead of time, and they know what's going to happen. Let me give an illustration of this. And you very readily recognize this in what you've seen happen recently. American corporations spent $59.2 billion in China in the past 12 months. No, not in the United States of America, in China. Now, this is known as outsourcing. We've taken our industry and moved it abroad. So what has that done to jobs in the United States of America? We've lost them. The United States has lost 7 million textile jobs, 3 million manufacturing jobs to free trade and outsourcing. You think this wasn't planned in advance? Yes. They planned years ago what they were going to do. 152,000 companies have left the United States of America and have moved abroad. 1 million manufacturing jobs have been lost in the United States since President Bush took office. You think all of this is by chance? Not on your life. It's by design plan. They planned it years ago. I heard them talking about some of the things they were going to do 35 years ago when I was on the Trans-Alaska Oil Pipeline. Let's go further. The United States goes in debt to other nations at the rate of $1 trillion per year. You think that's by chance? No, it's by design. It's all according to what they want. The United States must attract 17% of the world's capital in any given day just to service our national debt. All of this done by design plan. They never, now let's come down to where we are right now. They never purchase a successful business. Now think about it for a moment. Why would you want to go and buy something at top dollar? When do you buy it? You buy it after you bankrupt it. They only purchase after they bankrupt it. All right? Now, this is happening right now. The airlines of America. How do you buy them? Do you buy them when they're at their best, making their greatest profits? No, not on your life. What do? You take the price of crude oil to where it is today. You take the price of the jet fuel to the point that the airlines can't possibly operate. You put them into bankruptcy, and then what do? You buy them for pennies on the dollar. Well, that's exactly what they're doing right now. And you say, no, that wasn't done by design plan. Yes, it was. They planned it all in advance. Why do you think they're taking the price of crude oil where it is right now, and the price of gasoline at the gas pump? And the jet fuel? Sure. Well, let's go a little further. The financial institutions of the United States of America. Would you buy them when they're at their best? J.P. Morgan, Chase, Bank of America. Would you buy these things when they're making their greatest profits? No. What do? You first bankrupt them. Then you buy them for pennies on the dollar. And that's exactly what's happening in our banking institutions right now. Real estate. You think all of this is by chance? No, 10 to 12 years ago, they devised the option arm, the no-interest loans, and they knew at some point that it would do exactly what it has done today to the real estate market. It was planned 12 to 15 years ago to do everything that they're doing today with real estate in America. So what are they going to do? They're going to own the majority of the homes of America. And what do they pay for them? They get them for nothing. After all, when the person can't make their house payment, after 3 months, they come in, repossess it, and the house belongs to them. After all, the banking institutions are also going to belong to them because they're going to bankrupt them through the real estate market. How about small businesses? The identical same thing. You don't buy small businesses when they're making their greatest profit. You buy small businesses after you've already bankrupted them, and then you come in and buy them for pennies on the dollar. That's exactly what's happening by a design plan. The elite create a problem, and then they create a solution. Example, Brazil. Many years ago, Brazil wanted to be a great power. After all, they had the greatest wealth probably of any nation on the face of the earth in the Amazon River Basin. And so what did they do? They went and said, yes, Brazil, we'll be glad to give you all of the loans that you want. We'll give you an unending line of credit. Just go ahead and build that beautiful city, Brasilia, and do all the other things you want to do. They did. Now, they knew good and well that Brazil could never succeed because, after all, the interest rates were so high. So, sure enough, you guessed it, after a few years, Brazil could not make that payment to the World Bank. What did the World Bank do? The World Bank came in and said, well, Brazil, we're sorry, but you can't make those payments. You can't even pay the interest, much less the principal. And they said, I'll tell you what, we'll be glad to give you a new line of credit. All you have to do is just sign on the dotted line that you will give us all of the wealth of the Amazon River Basin. Now, that is probably the wealthiest, unexplored, I shouldn't say unexplored, but maybe undeveloped place on the face of the earth today. Gold and silver and diamonds and everything imaginable, and timber and everything the world needs today. And they said, okay, we'll be glad to do that. We'll make it this time. So they said, sure, we'll sign on the dotted line. Well, what did the World Bank give them? The World Bank didn't give them anything but a computer entry. Didn't give them gold, didn't give them silver, didn't give them anything of value, gave them a computer entry. They signed on the dotted line, said we'll use the Amazon River Basin as collateral. What happened?